Meta Perspective Podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to Meta Perspective Podcast. We're your host, Alex.
Evan.
And don't forget, Charles.
What's going on, boys?
Yeah, today we're going to be going over how to attract people. Kind of just an open area topic of suggestion.
Yeah.
But before we get into this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and jump in the chat. Obviously, you know, we want you a part of this as much as us. Meta Perspective is about our perspectives and yours coming together. So don't forget to either comment and weigh in on the conversation or jump in and give us topics you'd like to hear discussed in the future. Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Yeah. It's our second episode on YouTube.
Second episode. Yeah. Charles, how are you doing?
You know what? If I was doing any better,
Uh-oh.
it'd be raining money.
Raining man.
I'll take the money.
I know. I'll be honest. I've never seen anybody cry in a Porsche.
That's true. That's true.
It can buy you a boat. But no, all right. So we've been doing this podcast for over a year now, almost 2 years, pretty much 2 years. I'm gonna say 2 years. Yeah, we've made it on YouTube at this point, not for lack of better trying, just we felt like it's time. So yeah, this podcast, check out our first episode. We kind of explain, what the show is about, but yeah, we talk about topics that are deep. We try to bring the listener from a point of wherever they are to the deepest level to unlock certain things. So yeah, we.
You guys are good. You're good. You're good.
right.
You're good. You're good. Keep going.
All right, so yeah, tonight, how to attract people.
Meta Perspective Podcast.
All the beautiful people.
How to attract people. So obviously this is a pretty open-ended discussion. That's kind of the point of this one is, like everybody wants to attract people, whether it's for friendship, whether it's just to, attract a significant other, or even just, how to be a better friend, how to carry on better conversations.
Yeah.
How to appeal to more people, really,
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with this. I'll say, first of all, because of the technology and the things that we are exposed to in today's day and age, that it's getting harder and harder to actually connect with people. We're taking away the kind of face-to-face, and we're replacing it with the digital, so that that already kind of puts a damper on the whole how to connect and attract with people kind of thing.
I mean, realistically, it's like, if dogs could use Facebook, do you think you'd be his best buddy? Probably not. It's the scratches on the head. It's the, who's a good boy? That's what makes that dog go, I'll remember you. And for some reason, we have this idea that I could meet somebody online and still have that same kind of genuine connection. And it's just not true. I mean,
Yeah.
A real connection only starts from face to face. Chuck, if you don't mind looking up this thing just to kind of cue it up. What percentage of communication is body language? Something along those lines. I want to get into Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
He kind of starts it off saying that the two biggest things that everybody, statistically, the majority is interested in is understanding health and understanding social skills. What
percentage of people?
What percentage of communication is body language?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. I don't really know how to phrase that one.
So,
That's my fault.
How to Win Friends and Influence People is a very good That's a great book. I would highly suggest it. It's written probably about 100 years ago.
It's so true.
And it's not the Dale Carnegie, the oil tycoon guy, because it's the same name. Maybe that's why he had an affinity for, what the book's about. And basically, he lays out principles. Some of the key points of that book is that everybody likes to talk. Everyone likes to be observed and have their life have meaning. And I mean, we're all kind of egocentric in a lot of ways. And that's kind of, that's the crux of this discussion too, because, how to attract people is not about what you do. It's about how you come off to other people.
And somewhat of what you do.
I mean, yeah, it is, but
how you come off to people is sometimes what you do. For example,
right.
One basic thing is, listening. A lot of people it's like you said, it's like a lot of us think about what we need. Like, what do I want? Well, I want to tell you this story. Okay, well, how well do you know this person? Not very well, but I feel like if I tell them the story, they'll like me more.
Right.
Well,
it's more effective if they tell you a story versus if you try to tell them a story.
Exactly. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is, what do you want to do when you meet this new person? I want to tell them a story and impress them to try to make them my friend. Well, what if that person wants the same thing as you? What if they want a friend? And what do you think it would do if you were the person who listened to their story instead of tried to impress them first? You let them talk. And as they talk, as they went on, they're like, oh, this guy's letting me just go on. And I told the story. And then finally get to a resting place. And they're like, all right, yeah, what's up with you? And then you tell your badass story. And they're like, yo, that's badass.
Yeah.
And it's even more badass because I'm really listening to you because you listen to me. And sometimes being the first person to listen is... I mean, that's it. That's almost all you have to do in a lot of scenarios is just be the first person to walk up. Hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. What is that? Tell me about it.
So
and then
let's
just let them go on.
Let's establish some
shoes.
some goals
Where'd you
here,
get 'em?
right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, talking to anybody, like any social interaction, you have to think about your goals and what your objective is. And I hate to say it in that way, like it's not like you have an objective, like complete your mission. It's not.
But we're all human. We got a lot of stuff going on in our head. You have to pinpoint what am I doing here? What is my goal of starting a conversation? Is it to make a friend? Okay, let's acknowledge that. Is it to show off? Is it to be cool? Let's knock those out. We don't want those. You have to get rid of your natural instincts that are going to try to take over.
It's not a task. It's if you take it on an attack, it's gonna sound very.
Yeah, don't exactly. Yeah, first off, don't take it on as a task. You have to think about what is your objective. Are you trying to meet people to boot? Like, there's several reasons you could boost your own, social value. I mean, that's making friends. If you're in a new location or if you just move somewhere, you're gonna have to do this. If you're in a business sense, like you have to go after clients or anything like that. Like
whether you're running the business or working for a business.
You're going to have a different objective there, but like you still have to kind of take it to the base level of, okay, connecting with somebody is number one. And then you also have to consider, not only what's your objective of talking to somebody, but you have to kind of place yourself into the mindset that this isn't it's going to sound counterintuitive, but it's not a mission that you need to complete, or like you can't focus on the outcome is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So many people get hung up on the outcome.
Focus on the point. What is the point? To make a friend. Okay, now let's drop the idea and just do that.
Like go to base level. And really it's like if you're trying to expand your social network, or if you're trying to achieve, more clients, or if you're trying to attract a mate, all these things, you need to understand that, and then you kind of need to separate from it. You can't be attached to the outcome, because the outcome and the plan is always going to disappoint you. It needs to be genuine. It needs to come from the internal heart, and essentially no matter what happens, you need to attack these situations with the same exact mindset, no matter what.
Alex, for your question earlier about, what's the percentage of body language?
Yeah.
Most experts this is from lifesize.com.
You want to switch to the...
Yeah, from lifesize.com state that about 70 to 93% of all communication is nonverbal.
Thank you. That is exactly what I wanted to point out. Is a lot of people think it's what they say, and they get hung up, like you said, they get hung up in their mind of like, how do I go about this? What do I say to open this? And they think too calculated. It's like you said, it's like know what you want, but don't overly think of how to do it.
Yeah, don't focus on the outcomes.
It'll naturally come with intention.
Yeah.
But if your intention is, I need to say this properly, the person will receive that as this person's trying to work an angle. They're trying to, they're up to something. But if you're like, what is my goal? My goal is to make a friend. How do you make a friend? Just be yourself. And then you clear your mind and walk up and say, hey, how's it going? And just be confident with the goal and the intention of, I just want to make a friend. And they're going to feel that energy of, this is a friendly person who wants to get to know me, and they're asking me questions, so I'll talk.
Right.
And as they talk and you listen intently, genuinely listen, that person's like, okay, like, I'm just saying shit. What's going on? Why is this person just ask me a question and they're listening to everything I say and they seem to care? And then when they'll eventually ask you a question, say something awesome. Go on with whatever ideas you had, and they'll be like, okay, this guy's cool. He's lived a cool life. And the fact that he came up and seemed interested in me makes me feel like maybe I'm cool. And you don't realize what you're actually doing when you just let somebody be themselves. And you don't realize how much you're hurting yourself when you go out of your way to try to show somebody who you are.
Right, and I want to clarify, like, what I meant by establishing your objective is not meant to be like a like I was saying, like, you don't establish your mission. You're really trying to reduce this to the basic form, like, I need a friend, or I want to expand. Maybe you're looking for clients and you have some good skills. That's a good thing to focus on. Don't sell yourself short. You have something to offer people. You know what I mean? Like, you have to kind of like.
I love that you stated that about selling yourself short. I think people do that way too much when it comes to finding, whether it be a relationship or a friendship or just a new friend out there. I think people are so judgmental of themselves that I think unintentionally they
project.
Yes, they're trying way too hard, and they're not giving themselves enough credit for your life experiences and what you've been through, that you can make a connection that's powerful for somebody else and create a great relationship. And I think people are way too hard on themselves nowadays to be something that they're not.
And I want to say, along with that, a lot of people don't realize we're all going through that. So while you're sitting there and you're thinking like, oh, I got to do this, I have to be this certain type of way, like I want to impress this person, I got to blah, blah, blah. Well, the person who's over on the other side is only going to perceive it that way if, like you said, that's your mission statement. If your mission statement is, I have to be this person, I have to do this. When I walk up and start a conversation, I better have something good. When you walk up and you're like, that person didn't even seem like they cared. They didn't even want to hear it. They kind of turned me away. It seemed like they were just so confident. No, it's because you walked up and advertised, I don't know what I'm doing. And they were like, whoa, okay, go away then, because I'm also insecure. You're freaking me out. But if you walk up and you're just like, hey, how's it going? I want to hear you talk. Now you get to see that person's insecurities come out, and they're like, oh, I guess I could tell you about this. And now the person, you're putting them on the spot. But if you do it genuinely, because you genuinely want to know the answer to your question. I don't mean walk up and be like, I don't like that person's shoes, but the shoes stand out. Yeah. I'll walk up and comment on them. Nope. Find something about that person you genuinely like and make a genuine statement and compliment on that one thing you do appreciate, and then ask. The natural questions will come because you're interested. You see a bracelet with a cool design, you're like, oh, I like your bracelet. It reminds me of blah, blah, blah. They're like, it's actually this and that, but you watch blah, blah, blah? Dude, it's done.
Right.
I
Because everybody's trying to get something. When you boil it down to it, like, the reason why you wear the cool bracelet is to get acknowledged. You want people to observe you, and it makes you feel real. It makes your life have meaning, because if you do something cool and people recognize it, then they're going to acknowledge you for it. If you do something cool and no one's around, then it's, why did you even do it? I mean, you should do cool stuff without people watching you. That is my statement. But I'm talking in a general sense. You defined your objective as something benign. Boil it down to its basic instinct of, this. I'm not just trying to get money. I'm trying to win the favor of a client, or I'm trying to,
the goal is to think less.
Right.
And how do you think less? You don't say, okay, this girl's cute, I have to impress her. Bro, what is going through your mind after you think that?
Right.
A million things. But if
You're going to sell yourself, or you're going to fall short of your expectation.
yeah,
every
but if
time.
you say, I'm attracted to this girl, I want to get her attention. How do I do that? Let's boil it down. What gets a person's attention? What makes a person attracted to another person at its grassroots? A compliment, seeming interested, but not as if I know you. I don't know who you are, so I'm not going to approach you and be like, hey, I really like that necklace.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, okay, you're coming on too strong, as if you're using this as an excuse.
Right.
But if you break it down to a genuine thing, you're like, hey, I like your necklace. It reminds me of this and that. You're noticing something that reminds you of other things. The reason you like it is backed from other ideas. Use those other ideas. Maybe the person doesn't know the show. I like your necklace. It reminds me of this and that. I've never seen that show. Really? Do you like these kind of dramas? I love those kind of dramas. With, this kind of stuff. Oh, I love that. I think you would love that show. Like, I mean, you're wearing a necklace almost from that show.
Yeah.
And the person's like, oh, what's your name? Now we're getting somewhere.
See,
and
that's...
Go ahead.
Silence that.
silence yourself.
Go ahead, Chuck. You had something to say.
Well, I was actually going to ask you guys, how much of opening, right? So a conversation, right? You're at the bar and you're having a conversation. Opening conversation with a guy is super easy, right? If we're guys, right? There's so many aspects and so many. It's easy, right?
Yeah.
So from a man to a woman perspective, though, it's. Most people struggle with just walking up and talking to somebody. How much do you guys feel it is that there's some timing involved? Like the timing's got to be right, or do you feel like some people use that as an excuse?
So real quick, I want to acknowledge what I was saying about boiling down your basic intentions real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll address the timing thing too. But what I was saying by that is that's kind of your fallback. Your fallback intention. So, like, if you walk up to somebody, whether it's a guy or a girl, no matter what the situation is, your intention should be kind of refined as like a pure, basic intention. So it's like, if you walk up to a girl and you start talking to her, and maybe you get rejected a little bit, you don't get that good of a response. You'd be like, oh well, I'm just new to the city. I'm just trying to make friends. That's your basic intention. That's a fallback to where any reasonable person would see that as like, oh, he's not trying to hit on me. He's just trying to make friends. He's new to the city.
Yeah, because your
So
brain grabs the main thought.
So,
if
like,
the main thought is make friends, then when you get put in a corner, you're not sitting there going, I need to impress this person. You get put in a corner and you're like, how do I impress this person while I'm in a corner? You can't. But when you say I want to make friends and the person puts you in the corner, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, honestly, I'm just new and I'm trying to make friends.
Yeah, or even
that's
like
the thought
from
that comes to your mind.
A business mentality. It's like, oh well, like I'm trying to build my clients. I feel like I have something to offer, and I'm just trying to network. Those kind of things. Like, if you hold that intention in your head when you approach the situation, you have an easy fallback. And to what you're saying about timing, Chuck, I feel like that is timing in a lot of ways is key to social interaction, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100%, because your intention and how you display it as you come across in that moment can either interrupt what they're going, or it can totally usurp whatever was going on in their head, and then they're instantly attracted to what you're saying. I mean, someone could be having a bad day, and then you basically just hijack their mentality, and you give them a good day.
So
Yeah.
And I would almost say that from a timing, I think once you're good at it, right? Once you've had plenty of time to honestly, Alex, you're probably one of the best I've ever seen do it. Just kind of interact with people you have no idea who they are.
Appreciate it.
I've seen that many times over the years. I know for me, when I first started trying to be a little bit more social, timing, if the timing didn't feel right, like I didn't want to be awkward, right? So when you're thinking about, kind of thinking about that timing, I would say for people who are trying to become more social in just life in general, and you're trying to get out of your mom's basement for a little bit, get out there, go to a bar, which, believe it or not, that's still a thing. Timing, it will help if you think about when to insert at the right time.
I would honestly somewhat disagree about 80%. I think bad timing is something you want to avoid. You want to avoid bad timing. You don't want to talk to somebody right when they look upset or something like that. But I think that so many people are held back by waiting for timing, because that's kind of like, oh well, I've heard this thing that if you this works for approaching people, right?
Right.
If your initial intention is, oh, I should approach them. If you wait more than 3 to 5 seconds, your mind's going to come up with all the reasons why you shouldn't. And that's when it sets in, and that's when you lose that moment, and then that's when the timing goes out the window, right? So
Right.
you want to move, like, if you want to establish your intention, and then you want to avoid bad timing, but
Right.
you basically just want to go for it when the opportunity arises, because the universe presents, like, if we have an objective in mind, the universe is going to align and present those experiences and those outcomes to us. So we just have to recognize them and then go into them full force. Don't think twice about it. Don't worry about timing or anything like that. Just do it. And like, that's how you learn too.
So that's what I want to bring up.
80%
And look at
of the
me
time it
not
works.
just ignoring timing and jumping in.
No, I mean,
I'm kidding.
No, I was done. I was saying
I know,
most of the time it works.
I know, I'm
20%
teasing,
you
I'm
will
teasing.
fail. Like,
Yeah,
that's
but-
the crux
But
of
what I
social-
want to get to with
Don't
this,
be afraid of failure.
what I want to get to with this is is what I brought up earlier. As the article portrayed, 70 to 93% of communication is nonverbal. And I don't think people realize the impact of that and what that really means. So, timing, all these things, everything in your mind, and everything in your mind that could be an issue. Everything, from timing to what do I say to how do I look, like all of these things are irrelevant, and they don't really matter. They don't matter to anybody. They don't.
Yeah.
What matters is who you are and how you act, how you come across. Are you a good person or a bad person?
Yeah.
And
You
it's
want to
the-
gain someone's trust first off.
Exactly. Are you a good person or a bad person? You're not going to get my trust as a bad person. If you're walking up and you're just goofy and you're insecure, you're questioning your own thoughts and what you're bringing up to me. You walked up and said, haha, you guys come here often? And they're like, no. I don't really know what to say back. It's like, are you a good person or a bad person? I don't know. But when you walk up, I don't know what your intentions are. All I know is you walked up, said something kind of awkward, and I didn't really know how to respond because of how you acted. And people don't realize it's the nonverbal that is the most. When I say 70 to 93% of communication is nonverbal, Like when it comes to women, a lot of you guys out there have no idea that you really can pick up girls without saying virtually anything. And that's the problem, is you guys get so much into your head, you scare yourself and you're like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And a good guy who's got a lot to offer, who's lived a great life, can mess up his chances with the girl that 100% he has a chance with. Maybe he's outside of her standards, but he's so nervous and so confused that he comes off as a wreck. And now the girl's like, this guy's kind of shady the way he's talking, doesn't have control on his communication. He's not making eye contact. You know, it's all these little nonverbal cues where she's going to be like, whoa, get away. I feel uncomfortable. But when you walk up and you're like, let's go back to, like you said, grassroots. What are my grassroots? To walk up and be myself. Why does everybody say be yourself? Because being yourself takes no thought.
Yep.
It's who you are.
Yeah.
So now let's add one thing into that. I want to make a friend. What are my intentions? I want to make a friend. I'm going to be myself. My intentions are to make a friend. So I'm going to make a friend being myself. I'm going to walk up. Hey, how's it going? You know, I like your blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry I didn't mean to jump into your guys' group. I just want to say I love that shirt. Like, blah, 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 this and that. I watched that show too. Or let's say, you know, it's something basic. You're like, there's 3 girls and 1 guy. I just want to get into this group. For some reason, I'm a loser. I'm at this bar by myself, and I want to meet some friends. So how do I do that? Well, maybe I'll look at this guy. I see the 3 girls. They're all wearing very pretty outfits, but it's just like nothing they're wearing or anything stands out to me. Okay, well, are my intentions just to walk up and get one of these girls? No. My intentions are to make a friend. So
Right.
I'm going to walk up to the
Exactly.
guy. I'm going to relate to him. Hey, man, I like those shoes, bro. Or I like your shirt. Or there's something about you I'm like. And if there's not, why the fuck am I trying to talk to you? But realistically, but like if you literally have to ask yourself that question. Why do I want to talk to these people? If I don't relate to anything and I just think these are pretty people, like that's great. But if you don't relate to anything about them, why are you trying to get into the group? You know what I mean? Like find something, find some common ground. One thing. Don't sit there and just be creepy, but maybe from a distance just look and be like, okay, this person's wearing that, this person's wearing that. Oh, that guy just did boom. Okay, I watched Attack on Titan. I know that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And see, that's why I say don't focus on the outcome, because like in a different scenario, like let's say you're at a networking event, right? And someone comes up to you and they're like, "Oh, why you're here? Oh, well, I sell solar panels for your house and all this blah blah blah. Like, I'm just trying to make the world green and blah blah blah." Versus, someone comes up to you at a networking event and they're like, "Oh, like, what are you into?" And you explain a little bit about what you do, and then they kind of discern what connection you have to what they do. And then they wait for that, and then they're like, "Okay, well,
they listen to you talk.
You're a roofing guy. Well, I actually build. I do solar installation on roofs. Maybe some of your roofing clients you could talk. Maybe you could talk to them about.
Well, that's the biggest thing is people want to be listened to.
Because the guy that comes up to you and then is basically like forcing what they want, and then you're turned off by that.
But that's what I'm saying is people just want to be listened to. So if you're a salesman, the number one thing any good salesman knows.
Yeah.
And again, this goes to attracting people. Salesmen are the number one best example because they're not just because getting to know you and building a relationship with you is their livelihood. They make money off of it. So they don't have a choice. That's now a pushy salesman, a bad salesman. They're known for being people. They're known for being people who essentially try to tell you what they're doing, try to convince you, try to do this stuff instead of just walking up, "Hey, fuck what I'm doing. Tell me what you're interested in." Yeah. They hear everything you say. They figure out what you said that relates to what they're saying, and they're like, "Okay." For example, car salesman. Okay. So you like to do family trips. You like to do this. You like to you like to travel. That's obvious. You have 3 kids. You like to blah blah blah. I'm going to take all the information that I've given, listening to you as we built this relationship of me getting to know you.
Yeah.
And now you can ask me questions. You get to know me a little bit, but I want to really emphasize that my main concern is making sure that Sean, you're a happy guy. I want to make sure that, obviously from what you've told me, you don't want to just drive around in a Honda Odyssey. You want to take the kids out in style, right?
Right.
Yeah, I do.
I mean,
okay, I've listened to you enough, Sean. Let me get you in. How about this, the Yukon or something like that. It's an SUV. It's got a little extra backspace. It has the same amount of room, actually a little bit more. And you slap some rims on there, man. You'll feel like you're 17 again. And the guy's like, you know what? I'm picturing it. I can see myself being a dad in style now. Like, I'm getting excited. It's a little on my price range, but I want to do this. And that person will go outside of their comfort zone because you made them comfortable. And that same example applies to anything else, where if you meet somebody in person, if you're trying to convince them why they should like you, think about it as that simple. Whatever my intentions are is what comes across. If my intentions are, I want you to like me, the person in their mind is going to feel that and say, why is this person trying to convince me to like them? Right. Why? What's the reason? Versus,
what's their objective?
Yeah,
what's
versus
their underlying...
versus my reason is I want friends. So I walk up and now my intention is I want friends and I'm just talking to you. And the person's going to feel, oh, they're talking to me and they're specifically listening to me because they want to get to know me. That's refreshing.
That's the easiest foundation for confidence in social situations is pure intentions. And you really have to boil down what you're doing to pure intentions. Like, I'm sorry, but if your intentions are to fuck bitches and make money, those aren't pure intentions. Like, they're going to come across in how you act.
And people are going to pick up on that.
When you focus on the outcome, like a cheesy salesman, and like try to just cram some shit down my throat, I've seen it before. I recognize it.
I'm not supposed to get bitches and make money. What? What is this? What is this?
Yeah. Once you reach the upper echelon, maybe you can tout those.
I'm learning some new things tonight, boys. I'm learning, man. Going to school on me. Here we go.
On a human level, it's like we all just want to be observed and connect and know that we're not alone in the universe. Take that from a base point and work from there. Don't try to focus on any outcome of achieving this or achieving that. When you walk up to somebody, you should have no outcome.
Yeah. Don't walk up into into a group of people and say, what is my goal and how do I build on it? Go, what is my goal and how can I get, and what is the grassroots of that? So when you go from like, my goal is to make a friend. Okay, well, let's go down to the bottom. The bottom is everybody wants to feel like they're existing. They want to feel like they have purpose. So clearly, if we're going from a bottom grassroots of humanity, talking is not an option. Me walking up and telling them about myself, trying to sell them on me is not an option.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing I can do. The best thing I could do would be to walk up and compliment them on something about them and ask them about it. So because that person wore that out for a reason and they're excited that somebody noticed it and they're like, oh, this whole thing, I actually got this off of blah, blah, blah. Is this, I know it sounds stupid. I only paid $5, but I'm not cheap, but I paid $5. I got it off this website, but normally the same thing is $75 anywhere else. And you get to see like, okay, this person is, a little neurotic, but they're also, they're money conscious. I'm learning so many things about what this person's saying by taking my attention. And instead of putting it on the conversation, I'm putting my attention on listening and getting to know them and picking up these small verbal and nonverbal cues because you'll notice, everybody watching will notice when you're talking to somebody and I'd say do your homework. Go out to a bar, walk up to somebody and just say, hey, what's up? My name is Alex, blah, blah, blah. I noticed you were doing this, and then start telling them about how that relates to you. And notice how they just stand there like a deer in headlights and they just stare at you and listen.
Yeah.
Now walk up to another group and say, hey, I noticed you had this. Where'd you get that? Or tell me about that. What made you, I've seen that other places. Like, where'd you find that? And you'll watch them light up. Oh, and they turn into a child. They're I got this from here and I'm going to tell you way more information than you need to know. And that's when you're getting closer to making a friend.
So that's I want to make the distinction here. Like if you're trying to do this, compliments and flattery can come off in the wrong way. So like asking someone about where did you get that or something like that is more important than saying, I really like those shoes. Or whatever.
Because it comes to intention.
Right. You don't want to.
If my goal is to talk to you and I walk up and like, hey, I really like those shoes.
Yeah, like my intention walking around day to day is not to just compliment everyone that I see.
Because people hear what you're saying. So they're going to go, you like my shoes. And the first thought in their head is, but why?
But why do you?
What are your intentions? Why do you like my shoes? But if I walk up and I say, I really like your shoes. And again, you're being genuine. I really like your shoes. I had a pair like that back in high school when I used to skateboard. And now the person understands your intentions. You like my shoes because it reminds you.
I used to have those same shoes that got caught in a fucking.
But the person
under a tire, and
the person's gonna realize
just
like
lie,
but the person's gonna realize, oh, they commented my shoes and talked about skateboarding because their intentions were this is a nostalgic thing. I'm tying what your compliment to a nostalgic thing, and I'm bringing that out in you. The thing I bought is bringing something out in you. I feel good. Let me tell you all about it.
Yeah, let me tell you about the time. I
did used to skateboard, and that's why I got these. These are actually vintage. I'm going to tell you way more about these than you need to know.
Yeah.
And when you notice that, when you notice somebody going on and on, when you notice that you're the person blindly staring, just like, oh, they're still talking. Oh, shit, I opened a water hydrant I can't shut off.
Right.
Like, holy shit, it's just gushing.
Yeah.
That's when you realize this person, their guards are down. That means I now trust you.
Right.
I think you're a good person. You came up here and you made yourself vulnerable by saying, hey, I like this because it brings something out of me. Oh, it brings something out of you? Oh, because it brings something out of me. Let me tell you what it brings out of me. And that's when you create a connection. It's not that hard to understand. And it drives me crazy that people don't understand that the easiest way to build a connection with somebody is to connect. Those people will go, I have no connection to that girl's t-shirt, but I'm going to walk up and compliment it. They feel that. Everybody feels it.
Right.
You walk up and you're like, hey, I like your shirt. It's like, you said that like you don't care, but other
people can determine the outcome or the intention that you're giving behind it.
Yeah. Versus you walk by and you don't try to stop for a conversation or anything. You just kind of point and you go, hey, I like your shirt.
Because
and
everyone,
you're saying it just to be like, I like your shirt. They go,
so like,
thank you.
This
and
is
you're
why,
like, yeah. And you keep walking. Or you're like, have you seen this season? They're like, yeah. It's the easiest one.
This is what's wired into human beings, right? From our tribal instincts. If a lone wolf walks up to the pack and is like, hey, blah, 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 you're basically asking yourself, what does this person want and why are they talking to me? And
that's the main
the ultimate goal
is
to give them value, right? Like you want to be you want to offer somebody something by talking to them. It's not just that you want to get something out of talking to them and you might build a connection. You want to offer people things. You want to offer people value, really, not just things.
And you offer them value by listening to them. You
right,
bring up
exactly.
Something,
right.
You bring up something that allows them to talk, and that gives them value. And then what you get from that is information. Because again, 70 to 93% of communication is nonverbal. So notice how they say what they're talking about, and you'll learn anybody can talk about a show they like. Anybody can talk about a show they like, but not everybody is going to be passionate about the show that they're talking about.
Right.
That's how you can tell how much they like their show.
Yeah.
Is this something that you watch, as a comfort show? You like The Office? Great. Is this something, are you the person who walks around with a Dunder Mifflin t-shirt?
Right.
That's the difference. The people who display, I love this show and it's a part of my life, versus, I keep this on while I'm vacuuming and doing chores and cleaning the house because I like the comfort show and I love the show, but maybe not as much as this person. Those nonverbal cues are going to tell you a lot more about that person than the conversation and the words will.
Right. So something that you touched on, that a specific word that it kind of clicked and I love is your ability to be vulnerable. I think is such an undervalued aspect of relationships, and I'll be honest, it's probably one aspect that I kind of struggle with a little bit myself personally. At times is the ability to allow myself to be vulnerable. And I think that there is a piece of that I think is really maybe help me out with the word there. Untapped.
There you go.
Or or not understood.
Ununderstood.
Misunderstood.
Misunderstood. Yeah, this is probably more misunderstood
That's a
or
real word.
not taken. I think you hit that, and just that really kind of hit home, a little bit, as far as, the more vulnerable you are and the more people can see that vulnerability, you're going to find out who's good and who's bad.
And that's what I was saying too. Focus on that pure intention. Like, distill your intentions to pureness, because one, that's going to protect you from rejection. Because if you do get rejected by a group or a person or a potential mate, you're going to have a fallback of, I was just making friends. Oh, I'm just new to the city. I'm just trying to expand my skills and meet other like-minded people. These things will protect you psychologically and allow you to act with confidence. And that's kind of like, you distill your pure intentions, and then you don't focus on the outcome when you interact with people. And then you basically just let them project onto you. I mean, you are their existence beacon. Them talking to you makes them feel real.
Yeah, and I feel like we're circling some of these thoughts a little bit.
Maybe so.
I
I do.
Go on.
I was going to say, I want to talk about value. I want to talk about social value and attracting people. It's really about either matching value or offering value, because I heard a psychologist explain it once. The 10 system, like rating people of 1 to 10. I don't like 10 scales, but a 6 is kind of low, 7 or 8, it's middle, 9 and 10 are the top echelon. So
well, 6 and 7 are above average.
I know, but that's why I don't like 10 scales. So I would say the basic form of low value is a 6, or lowest value is basically you're asking other people to give you value.
Noted.
That's your cool friend that you want to go hang out with, that has a good time, and then you being along for the ride, it gives you value. So that's sucking value from people. And then there's the middle tier, the 7 and 8, which is combative value. It's that I'm going to attack your value to make myself look more valuable. And those are the aggressive people. Those are the guys at the club that'll say shit to you. You know what I'm saying? Start stuff, controversy. Those are all middle tier people that they feel like they don't have inherent value themselves, so they have to bring others down to give themselves value. Mm-hmm. And then there's the highest echelon, which the 9 and 10 area, which is basically you're giving other people value. Whether you're a hot chick and your presence is just giving them value, or if you're a charismatic person that's just, that's how we want to be, right? We want to be offering other people value and giving.
With your scale, though, you're being a little kind.
No, I didn't come up with this.
I'm saying you're being a little kind in the sense that I think you can hang out with a 3 or 4, and a 3 or 4 just wants company. That's somebody who's, they smoke weed all day, play video games, they don't do anything.
That's why I don't like 10 scales, because I don't understand what is a 3 or a 4.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I like 10 scales, because in my opinion, I think they're very obvious. A 1 is somebody with no value who only takes. A leech who has nothing to offer, does not take care of themselves. That is a person that is in a full decline. If you get involved with this person, they're going to destroy you. Now, you can have a girl who's a 4. She's pretty, whatever, but everything about her is toxic. The conversations are terrible. The conversations are just about negative stuff all the
Right,
time.
right.
There's nothing to offer. When you get to 5 is, hey, I know I need to improve. I may not be sure how, but I want to do something. That's an average. That's how most people are, I think, is most people want to change but don't know how to change. A 6 or a 7 is somebody who I would say is like, I'm becoming something, I'm trying to do something, I have ideas,
Right.
but I'm not that successful, but like I want a good life.
I know.
And then when you get into the 8s, to the 9s, the 10s, these are the people who are like, an 8 would be somebody who's like, you know, I'm in a direction. I have a goal. I know what I'm going to go for, and I'm going for it. A 9 and a 10. A 10 would be somebody who's like, I had goals. I accomplished them. I did this. I accomplished
well,
it.
let
I will
me-
never
let me-
stop accomplishing. All I do is accomplish.
Let me dial that back without the 10 scale. I'm talking about
Keep the 10.
there's low value, there's middle value, or there's people who suck value from others.
10th.
There's people who compete with others to lower their value so their value is more valuable. And then there's people that give other people value. You want to be in that upper echelon of people who give other people value. So like when we're talking about approaching people, how to attract people, you want to offer value. And that's the key. If you just focus on pure intentions, not being attached to the outcome and offering other people value, you're going to be charismatic and socially successful. I don't care what you do.
You
can
are
be-
who you surround yourself with.
I mean,
100%.
yes. I mean, it's correct. If somebody watches this podcast and says, I'm just going to listen to people, ask basic questions, gain information, I'm going to do this stuff. I mean, that you could still be a 5. Now, following that, if you follow that religiously and you try to give value, that could bump you up to a 7. But it's not until you find a way to give value back to other people in a real way that
Yeah.
makes you into that upper echelon. Because there's no way I'll believe in a 10 scale that some guy who offers value by listening and doing all this spiritual conversating and stuff like that, if your life is not 100%, you still don't really have that much to offer to me in a romantic situation, at least from a guy to a girl.
Well, I've had friends that are drunk asses that have no value of their own that offer other people. No, not you, Chuck. Not you. But like
It's you.
Like I'm talking about like people who have low social status that offer people value, and then they're very. They come off as 10,
but
like 9 or 10s because
They come off that way, but the way I would see them is a 6, because what you're doing is you're using social situations in order to get fun times, and while it's good,
I'm just talking about giving people value, asking about them, being like nice is like a bad way to say it, but like there are pieces of shit out there that are really fun to hang out with, and they have a lot of social value, not a lot of societal value, and that's what I was trying to get away from the 10 scale.
I will say, but the 10 scale is meant for a reason.
it's
It's a
like- I know,
legitimate.
it's like a hotness level
no. It's a
and stuff,
legitimate
and-
scale that comes from ambition. It comes from all aspects of who you are. It's the spectrum of what makes a person. Now, if we're just talking about being nice and being kind and communicative, you can still use a 10
I'm
scale to
talking
that.
about offering people value. That's the
Offering-
scale. That's the only scale I'm talking about. I don't want to. I want to get away from.
But and I get that.
It's like higher level is offering value, lower level is sucking value, middle level is combative, take down other people's value to make your own better. That's all I wanted to say about that.
said
And
terrible.
you're gonna meet.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to explain it like how it was presented to me with the 6 to 10 thing, but when it comes down to it, you're either sucking value, you're fighting value, or you're offering value. And like you want to be in that offering value status. So like even if you feel like you have low value, you can still offer people value. And like you can still be in that higher social status just by the way you approach it.
Right.
Yeah. No, I
Yep.
agree with that. I mean, I think, like I said, you meet somebody and you go off of basic things. You compliment them on genuine things that you find interesting to yourself, and that allows them to feel, oh, this person's this person meant that, and they feel it. And then they go on about themselves. And again, you know, it's non-verbal stuff that you notice that person's getting overly excited about what they're talking about, and they're doing all this stuff, and they're blah, blah, blah. The moment you sit there and you try to turn the conversation back to you lower your value. But when you sit there and you take something they said and elaborate on what they said, don't be afraid to add yourself into it. Like, you could be like, oh, yeah, no, it reminds me, you were saying about that show. That reminds me, I actually saw it in theaters, and when this happened and blah, 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 I was like, how could he do that? Yeah. Now the person's like, I thought the same thing. And you knew they thought the same thing based off their nonverbal cues of how they were wording the story of the movie they saw, or whatever it is that you're talking about. You're able to tie these things together and be like, okay, I'm noticing from this conversation, this person liked the movie but had some issues. I feel like I'm feeling the connection. I'm feeling like maybe they didn't like the same part I liked. And then you throw it out there. And if they're like, I disagree, you know, honestly, I like that part. You could be like, yeah, but, you know, when he did this, I mean, it was kind of shitty. And the person's like, yeah, I agree.
And the nuances.
And then it's not nuances at all.
Well,
it's when a person, because the majority...
Every situation's different, though.
Because the majority of people, when they're in a situation, every situation is different, but how the conversations work is always the same. Which is, when I say something, if a person disagrees, I'm back in my head, I'm back insecure, I'm back blah, blah, blah. Everything's derailed. But if you take what they say and try to point out something with yourself, I agree with what you're saying here, but over here, you know, I mean, this was kind of shitty. And the person's like, I mean, that part was kind of shitty. Now we can elaborate that on that, and we can build an even deeper connection because we're starting to go into specific areas in conversation where now that we know that we both see this one specific thing the same, now we've just learned something very personal about each other. It's not about the movie. It's about how we see life and how we see and how we see circumstances playing out. You know.
What do you got to say, Chuck? I feel like you're.
Oh no, no. I was just, you know, I think
he was just tired. He was just tired of me talking, wanted to pass the torch.
No. I think you guys bring up a lot of, you know, a lot of good points as far as all that's concerned.
So what do you think?
Social value.
Yeah, what do you think about social value? Or switch your camera to.
Yep. So as far as social value goes, I think I've always been a firm believer. You know, you are who you surround yourself with. Most people are going to surround themselves with like-minded people. And something I was also thinking about was, as far as, like, you know, creating relationships and where you're going to find those relationships, I'd have to be honest to say, like, I've been, you know, working for the same company for 7 years now. And honestly, I think 50, 60, maybe 70% of the people I talk to, I work with.
Yeah.
So, right? So when we think about that, you know, it's sometimes the relationship is going to be, you know, right there, you know, at your doorstep.
Right.
Where you're spending the most time.
Social circles.
Right. I mean, I've got, you know, a couple of, you know, one of my buddies, Nick, who I work with, and, you know, we try and go out and get some dinner or something. But we have like-minded, you know, perspectives on things. There's other things that we don't always, but
yeah.
It was easy, right? You know, there's always a topic of conversation that we can relate to, which is work.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, people who typically, you know, I've seen people in a workplace where they just struggle to make friends in the easiest environment, like work, where it's something that you can relate to.
Yeah, you have to establish that social connection at some point.
Right.
At one singular point, or like maybe it's a work buddy or something. That's different than a friend that you meet out in the street. But like, you need to establish like why you guys are friends, or why you're connected or whatever. And I actually wanted to say something about so there's the social value aspect of like taking combative and giving value, but then there's also another side of the psychology of this is the rapport cycle. So this is basically like, and I've actually heard, I read a psychologist that was talking about this is how you make people love you, and whether this is like ill intentions or not, this is kind of how love works. Is basically that you have shallow rapport, which is like banter, which
Right.
is like talking back and forth. We can talk about this with that, but it's not really that deep, right? We don't really like share anything personal. We don't really get into each other's lives. And then there's like middle rapport, which we're actually sharing experiences and we're connecting on that level. And then there's deep rapport, which is like kind of a deeper connection. It's relating to another person
Right.
on a spiritual or emotional level. And then basically that's a cycle, right? So like when you
Right.
meet somebody, yeah, you want to be on that like anyone that you talk to, even if it's a friend that you just are hanging out with and they come over, you're on that basic rapport level. You're like, oh, how you doing? Like blah blah blah. Like you share some stuff, and then you start to dive deep into the deep rapport. But then, apparently, according to psychology, what makes people love you is if you're able to go from shallow to middle to deep rapport, back to shallow rapport to middle to deep, and it's like a circle, right?
Right.
So like,
So are you kind of like talking about almost chameleonizing yourself?
well, what I'm talking about is, you want to establish a connection with somebody. You want to build a deep connection. So like, you're going to start off on shallow rapport. You can't just go from 0 to 100. But you're gonna eventually get to 100 or at least 90.
Right.
And as soon as you recognize that you're at 90, bring it back to 5. Say something funny. Break it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys are getting deep with this shit. Say something funny to what they said, and then like break up that cycle a little bit, get them back to a little bit of shallow rapport, so you can go back into deep rapport, and then you just keep doing that cycle, and that is a very good way to establish human connection that's long lasting,
Right.
and that feels strengthened. And if you're talking about a social or not a social a significant other, this is the best way to build love.
Yeah.
Build the foundations of love.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Because people want to connect with you, and then and as soon as they do, bring it back to funny. Say something funny. Break the emotional connection just for a second, and then bring it back to the emotion.
Rip a fart. You'll be all right.
I mean,
Farts are always
That's-
funny. I don't care who you are.
yeah, that's the rapport cycle. I mean, people don't want to be. That's why we do this podcast, right? Because we start off talking about a subject, and then we get deeper, and we get deeper and deeper and deeper, and the listener and the viewer goes with us,
Right.
and their mind is opened up by that. But then you say something funny, and it kind of breaks it for a second, and then they get back into it, and then that's what makes people like you. I mean, from a psychology perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think to just to recap,
All right.
I think the
We are-
basics
yeah, we are-
is I think the basics is to when you approach somebody, ask them something genuine that you're interested in. It's that simple. I'm gonna ask you something based on your outfit that genuinely interests me. And I like that polo. Is that Ralph Lauren or is that polo company?
Fuck yeah, it is.
Fucking right. I like that. I feel like nobody wears polo anymore.
Oh.
Okay, you're a terrible conversationalist, but
I'm more of a Levi's guy myself, but
in a real conversation, it's like even something as simple as that. Polo's an obvious brand. Here's a collared shirt with a man on a horse.
Yeah.
They're all the same. They're all the fucking same. So I see the shirt. I come and it's like, is that a real polo or is that a blah blah blah? Or is that the polo something incorporated. There is a side company that has like 2 guys.
Yeah, U.S. Polo.
Yeah, something weird like that. Where you're like, yeah, okay, there's
we're
literally
in-
2 guys on the
in
horse
an hour.
together. It's weird. But the point is I'll comment on the shirt. You know, it's basic, but like I know I like polo, so I'll comment on it, and you're like, oh yeah, no, this is real polo. It's like, dude, I feel like nobody wears polo anymore. And now we have a conversation. Yeah, dude, it's like that whole era of like Abercrombie, Hollister, Polo, all that stuff just kind of died, you know? And now we have a conversation where we can relate on, at the very least, our age group. You know, it's like there's so many things that not just a person's physical, wardrobe or characteristics or whatever, hairstyle will tell you that you have plenty of ammunition. But if I decide to ask you one question based on that, instead of trying to think of all the ways that I could try to relate to you, instead I'm going to compliment that because I'm going to relate to you immediately. I'm going to relate to you by saying, I like the shirt. The moment I relate to you that I like the shirt, you're like, oh, I got a connection. Yeah, I like it too. Now we have a conversation going. Once we have a conversation, I can get all the nonverbal cues from you of how you talk about what you talk about and figure out what is important to you, what you're most passionate about when you talk about this stuff. Maybe you get riled up. You're like, yeah, I can't stand the fact that it's like everybody wears all this crazy stuff, and it's like just a simple collared shirt makes you look clean. I don't know why everybody tries to go above and extra. And it's like, okay, that's so much more to go off than people realize.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. I think being yourself is probably one of the most important things. Just be yourself. Anything else is just like almost manipulation or trying too hard.
Yeah.
And that person's
don't try
like,
too hard.
yeah. And then that person's like, I agree, this and that. Now you have a real conversation going. You have a friendship going where it's like, I've shown you by listening to you, I've shown you that we have common interests. And all I had to do was let you talk and then give you examples, genuine examples. I could listen to you talk for 20 minutes, but I'm going to pick out the few things that that I relate to, and I'm going to attack those so that I don't need to tell you all the parts of your conversation I disagree with. I'm going to tell you all the parts I agree with. And you're going to say, holy shit, this guy's fucking awesome. He thinks just like me. He's into the same stuff I'm into. I like this guy. He's fucking dope. And all of a sudden I have a friend and he's introducing me to his friend group. And now I'm meeting these people, and people don't understand the power of listening. They don't. Everybody has this understanding of I'm insecure, so I need to explain who I am.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that by doing that, other people are picking up this insecurity and feeling uncomfortable. And you're killing yourself. I mean, the worst thing you do is to meet somebody is try to tell them who you are. Don't be a salesman and sell yourself. Be a salesman and figure out what they want. And then try to sell yourself to them based on what they need.
I would honestly be down to come back to this kind of topic at some point in the future. I feel like there's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
We are right at about an hour here. We'd like to try to keep it around, an hour or two to as much less as we can. But yeah, I mean, to sum up,
Hey, good conversation don't have a time limit.
yeah, I mean,
1 to 2 hours is about average. We don't try to keep it to an hour. It
Yeah.
goes where it goes, but
well, yeah. I mean,
yeah, it goes where it goes.
I feel like we.
I feel like you're wanting to wrap this up, so
Well, no,
I'm going off of nonverbal cues.
I feel like Chuck. You are? Okay, I was. Okay.
We appreciate it. Chuck, this is his first night running the show, and he's doing an awesome job.
He's
Thanks,
doing an
boys.
awesome job.
I'm trying.
Doing an awesome job. And it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It always does. That's why we're on YouTube, because we didn't used to be. This is better. So we're getting better. Next thing you know, we'll be on Rumble. Better. No.
Better.
Better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You want to keep it going, or you want
I'm
to?
down to keep it going if you guys are down to keep going.
What do you think, Chuck?
Chat, what do you think?
You know, boys, I'm kind of following your lead on this one. I'm just back here making
We'll keep it going.
make
Let's
things
keep it
happen.
going for another couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's.
I'm not gonna lie. I love the social topic.
I see
The topic of tonight is fantastic.
We
by
got
the way.
3 viewers right now. I'm pretty sure. Any of you guys out there? You wanna chime in the chat? Let's see you there.
Any thoughts? Any ideas? Anything you want to add in?
Let us
or
know you're out there.
attack. Yeah, don't be afraid to break us down. We can handle it. But
We're not
I
soft.
mean, so so think about like the normal, just everyday person, right? Like we're bombarded by all the stimulus and all that. Like people want to genuinely connect with people, and like everybody wants to increase their social status. So this is kind of like a culmination of what we have seen has worked. I mean, obviously there's other things that you can do. You can do all this, you can be fancy and like try to
something. I'm going to ask you guys this, and it's a topic that it's since we've been talking about it, I've been thinking about it for just a little bit, and I think some viewers may actually kind of think about this is how much is social. I mean, I know we're talking about very basic, but social from a hate to say it, almost a financial perspective. How much does that play into your social value? It's been something I've been thinking about for like 20, 30 minutes, and I finally wanted to bring it up.
That's a good question.
you're saying financial, like material stuff. How does that affect your social?
Yeah, like how does this affect? We were talking about social values and scales, like
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I feel like in certain social circles that would actually be a thing.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, honestly, because
If I could jump in on this one, honestly, I think it's all the same. I think a guy with a nice car, nice job, nice money, dude's making $250,000 a year and has everything. I think if he doesn't have the proper social skills, it's not that he's, let's speak for women. It's not that he's not going to be attractive to women, but I think women are going to try to use him because they're going to see his lack of social skills as a weakness, and they're going to look at it as this is a target, versus a woman might see a guy who has all this stuff and listens to them, hears them out, and is able to communicate properly and correct them when they're wrong. Those women are going to say, okay, I want to stay with this guy because I can see not just does he have money, but he's going to get more, and he's somebody that I can relate to. He's a good person. He has all these things, and I'm not speaking bad on women, because in any situation, men and women, we all use each other in some way or another at some form, especially when you get into the 5s and lowers. Yeah, that 10 scale. But
I hate 10 scales.
but when you get into that, it's the people of higher value who don't need stuff from other people. So when you have that kind of money, but
true.
you don't have the social value, chances are, going off what you're saying, chances are, if you don't have the social value, but you have all the stuff, mathematically speaking, you only have the stuff and you only have the drive in order to get stuff from other people. Therefore, because you don't have the social skills, people are going to say this guy is somebody who relax. They're going to say this guy is a guy who uses his material things to get women or to get friendship or to get stuff. So I'm going to get stuff from him.
Yeah.
Versus a guy who says, I have all this stuff, but I don't need anything. I want to give you value. That person's like, I don't want your money now. I want you. And that's the difference. I don't want your money. I want to be your friend. It's a big difference.
Right.
A guy who advertises himself as, I'm clearly here just to flaunt my money and make friends. Okay, I'll take some money and be your friend then. That's I think it's very
exactly.
basic like that.
I want to separate those two things, because honestly, I feel like they are not related. They are related. Like, obviously, if you have money, then you have more social value to offer. You can buy people drinks. You can take people in limo rides and stuff like that. Like, that is a certain level of value that you can offer. But
I wouldn't say social value, but it would be like experience value.
Right,
Like,
right,
I can
right.
give you a great night. I can't give you a great night, but my money can buy you a great night.
I just want to say,
when I jump into the conversation, I'm going to ruin the night. But
exactly.
You know,
So
yeah.
And then
I'll
I'll pay you money to go back to enjoying the night. Here, let me ruin it by talking. Here, let me buy you a couple more drinks.
The reason I want to distinguish these things is because if you have money, it does not mean that you have value. And like you can be broke as shit, and you can still offer people social value and to the highest degree. And like that, so like, even if I had $1 billion, I would still be doing this. I'd still be hanging out with you guys, fucking hanging out, drinking some beers, talking about cool shit.
Yeah.
So this social interaction has no monetary.
Exactly. And that's a really good way to categorize it.
And even people that have all that money and that want to earn other people's social value, they buy people, and that's not how you do it either. So it's like, I think that those things, I think that one can help the other, but they are indistinguishable.
That's fair. Obviously, the true route to become successful is to understand people's wants, and prioritize that. Obviously, you come first. You'll always come first. If you don't put yourself first, your life's stupid. But like, if you put
just don't be afraid, because people will say you're self-centered.
I mean,
but like
no,
in conversation and stuff like that, you want to prioritize other people. When you do that, like you said, whether it's business, whether it's your business or a business you work for, when you prioritize other people, you get more business. You work your way up at the company.
Yeah.
Your bosses like you more. They're like, hey, this guy actually listens to me. I feel connection. You know what? I want to see him up at the top with me. And
I like this guy. I don't know why, but
I like this guy. Something about him. And you slowly work your way up the ladder, and then you're making more money. Now you have used social things to make money, and that, I think, is what you were talking about. Is in terms of like, I don't. If I had $1 billion, I would still be doing the podcast with you, because it's I like to utilize my social skills to try to get me to where I go, because I personally believe that my social skills are a reflection of my finances. Right. And if I prioritize finances over my social skills, I believe that puts me out of whack. That puts me at a disadvantage. But if I prioritize social skills and my social skills grow because your social skills never go down, they'll just keep growing.
Right.
You can become depressed, you can become whatever, but that muscle memory of what it is to be a certain type of person is always there. So as you keep exercising that and building that, and that's who you are, as you start to network, you get closer with other people. As you start to grow your group, you start to come in contact with other people who are equally motivated. You start to build a business, you make some money. Well, I made this money based off of how hard I worked on myself. Right. So now I appreciate the money more. I don't want to spend it as quickly. And as a result, I don't use it as leverage in conversations and things like that, because I know that it came from that. I mean, versus somebody who just focuses on get money for the simple reason of people will talk to me, people will like me if I have money. If you would have focused on yourself, you would have had the money.
See, that's where I feel like a lot of people fall short, is that people in college, right, where they're going for a major. Oh, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be this and that. Like, I'm going to make money so people will like me. So I have high social value.
I want to be a firefighter.
And that's where you... I
try to be a firefighter, too.
That's where it's skewed, because the best things in life are free, right? Yeah. Like, I love that saying, the best things in life are free, because it's almost like people interpret it wrong. It's like the best things in life don't require you to pay for anything.
100%.
Sex.
100%.
Yeah. Sex.
Whew.
Great experiences. Like,
ladies and gentlemen, that's hitting home right there.
You can have a night with a fucking bottle of Tanqueray and a shotgun, Like, that could be the best night ever.
I mean, there's times I've gone out to dinner at a cheap restaurant, and just to hang out with somebody, and next thing you know, the conversation just takes off, and I have an amazing night. Like, just the conversation, the topics we cover, the connection I get. I feel like I'm talking to myself, and I'm like, this is amazing. I get to bring out my thoughts unthrottled, and all these people are, the people in the conversation are all responding the same. We're all here. Like, I feel alive. I feel like I exist. I could never pay for this type of genuine, organic conversation.
Yeah,
you know,
and I have some. I got to
really is
interject with
priceless.
this. You cannot buy experiences.
100.
Like
Facts. Big old
Facts,
big old
boys.
dangling facts.
Ooh.
Dangling in your face. Facts.
Go ahead, Chuck, if you want to say that.
No, I was like, boy, you
what
just
I'm
go,
saying, like,
go.
yeah, okay.
Keep going, because you're on a fire right
Like,
now.
if you have all the money in the world, like if that's your goal is to make money and like have all these experiences, like I know people that are rich as fuck that go on vacation and have a shitty time and never smile and never do anything out of their comfort zone, and they just fucking check their emails every morning and wake up early and go to bed late, and it's like, or
because it's intention.
wake up early, go to bed early. It's like,
because it's intention.
You
I
spent
made
all the-
money. I made money. I want to be happy. How do I be happy? I'll go to Florida. And you go to Florida and you're
Yeah.
not happy. Instead,
it's like,
it should be like,
those
what do
people should have served us more drinks and blah blah blah, and I'm mad at every little fucking thing.
because their intention is
it's
when
like-
I go here, I'll be happy. And they're expecting
Exactly.
the experience to give them happiness because they don't have the parts in them
Yeah.
that are bottled up, that are boiled down to say, okay, I'm going here because I'm happy. It's one of my. It's from some corny movie I'm not gonna quote, but basically what they say is, you don't drink to be happy, you drink to be happier. So you don't drink when you're sad, you drink to celebrate. And a lot of people don't realize, like, chasing money and chasing material things to be happy. I'll be happy once I get all this stuff. I'll be happy once I get money. I'll be happy when people like me because I have money.
Yeah,
When you get there, you don't have it.
it's the never-ending.
you'll be
finish
comfortable.
You have to learn to be happy. And then when that stuff comes, you don't go, I made $1 million. I'm going to spend $100,000 on this car. I'm going to spend $10,000 on this trip. I'm going to spend half of it.
and then I'll be happy.
I'm going to spend half of it to make a happy moment. Instead of saying I'm happy, and as a result of being happy, I've found out how to make money.
Yeah.
And now, honestly, my buddy just asked me if I want to go to he asked me if I wanted to go to some random, it's in Nevada or some shit, to go fishing for a certain kind of fish.
Oh, I can't. I'm working to make money to be happy.
But it's like when that
Right.
person invites me out to Nevada to go fishing, I might sit there and be like, yo, I got Dubai money. I've made this money so I can go to Dubai and be happy in the most expensive area. Instead, it's like, no, I'm always happy and I've made money. I can easily afford a trip to Nevada.
Yeah.
And now you're going to enjoy that trip to Nevada way more than Dubai, simply because you were happy before the money, but the money allows you to do all the things you want to do, and it allows you to be yourself unchained, versus thinking that making you money unchains you. It doesn't. You have to find happiness first and figure out what makes you a good person, what makes other people like you. When you finally get that, and that's what one of the biggest things I hate is when people are like, you should never care about what other people think of you. No, what other people think of you is the standard of who you are. If everybody doesn't like you, you're doing something wrong.
Well,
you should care what people think.
Right.
I agree.
Now, if you're fucking crushing it, you're listening to people, you're doing this stuff, and the majority of people are like, no, I like that guy. Like, he's a good guy.
I think it's
You're
better-
doing something right.
I think it's better explained as you shouldn't not do something because of height.
That was
Hold
terrible.
on. Let's try again.
Try again. You get 3 tries.
All right. So, like, if I'm going to do something, I shouldn't worry about what other people think about it. I think you should worry about
No,
how
I always think
other
you do.
people view
Because
you.
if
But
I-
like,
if I think-
it shouldn't hold me back.
No, I think if what I'm going to do, if my first instinct is people are going to look down on me for doing this, I shouldn't do it. I think it's pretty obvious. I think that's an indicator that whatever I'm following is, at my core, I know is somewhat immoral or somewhat degenerate or somewhat unethical. I think that everybody else is a great indicator of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King, yes, he was, or John F. Kennedy or Lincoln. All these people were essentially killed for doing something that the majority followed them on. So yes, they a lot of them were killed for what they did. All the greatest through history were killed for what they did, but the majority of human population supported them and said, "You're doing something that's braver than I could do. You're saying what I couldn't say, and we all follow you." That is a good indicator when you have everybody following you. Was he killed for it? Yes. But that is irrelevant to how other people viewed them. So I've always hated the thing of, like, you shouldn't care about what people think. If you're selfish and you just want to, sow your seeds, fuck a bunch of bitches, make money and spend it on drugs, and just literally, like, if you want to just self-implode, and you're like, what? Don't care what people think. Great.
Right.
You're gonna die, and nobody's gonna go to your funeral. But if you care about what people think, you're gonna have 1,000 people at your funeral who said, "This man made a difference in my life." Why? Because he cared about how people viewed him, and he made his choices based on what helped other people, not just himself. And not only that, but he helped himself by doing that. Martin Luther King, he had money. Martin Luther King, he had a huge following. Martin Luther King had crazy love. Was he killed for all of it? Yeah. But what he followed, the reason that people will always remember the name Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, Mother Teresa, the reason people will remember these names is because they weren't selfish and they weren't thinking about how they viewed themselves, but how other people viewed them.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most important things.
And
If you stick to that type of things, if you stick to that type of flow, you will become well-rounded. And as a result, you won't have holes. If you want to just focus on yourself and do you, queen, or whatever, if you just want to focus on you and be selfish, and you want to say, I don't like the fact I have this weird insecurity that people don't like what I'm doing because deep down I know it's immoral or unethical, but like, I can get away from that thought and that feeling if I say, like, who cares what other people think? And then I can just keep being a piece of shit. That's all that excuse is. That's all that means.
Right.
There's no in between.
So okay.
If you say,
I meant more.
it's a huge pet peeve of mine when people are like, don't care what other people think.
I meant
100% always care what other people think.
Right.
Because if at the majority of people say you're doing something wrong, you're fucking doing something wrong.
100%.
I meant more like in the future potential outcome of, like, don't not do something because you're afraid of what people think. And like, it's like a bell curve, right? It's both sides.
Though.
Like, okay, so
like, don't do something because you're afraid of what people think. What does that mean, though? What is an example?
Okay, so in the past, you want to consider what if people have thought about you for doing these things. In the future, you want to consider where doing these things might have a negative impact. So, like, consider what you've done in the past. Learn from that. Don't repeat the same mistake in the future. Obviously, like, don't do.
But I would not have made the mistake had I cared about what people thought originally.
No. What I'm saying is, like, don't. If you're gonna walk up to someone and talk to them to try to gain their attraction, don't worry about what they're gonna think. Like, you want to be.
That's never how it's used though. In that scenario, I agree, but that's never how the saying is used.
I know. That's why.
If I'm walking up to start a conversation with somebody and make a friend, don't care what anybody thinks. Being a basic level of clear your mind.
That's what I'm saying. It works on both sides of it. It's like past or future. So, like, yeah, you should give a shit about what you've done in the past. It was fucked up. Like, don't do that. In the future, like
You
learn
should
from
also
your
care in the
past, and
future
then-
because if people are saying you're taking a bad route and you're like, no, this is a good route.
Like that's what I'm saying. Learn from your past. Don't do the same.
But that's why you should
repeat
always listen to
mistakes.
people because
people will give you feedback.
But that's why I said that because anything in my past that people are like, hey, you shouldn't do that, and I did it, it never ended up proper. I mean, even in the shit I did where I was successful, I didn't end up happy.
Yeah.
And I lost friends because of it. And as a result, I said, wow, that's where I learned. I should fucking care what people think. Because if I don't care what people think, and I become selfish and just self-deluded in this world of I am the center of the universe, I am the only existence, or whatever you want to call it. The difference is let's care about what other people think. Let's put their existence first over mine. I'm gonna give values to their existence. I'm gonna listen to them. I'm gonna let them talk. I'm gonna be genuinely interested in what they say. I'm gonna get excited about their topics of conversation. And as a result, that makes me feel better. And I get comrades. I get people who go, hey, I like this guy. I'll back this guy. I'll stand up for this guy. I fucking love this guy. Versus me saying, I don't really care how this makes you feel, but or where this is going, but it needs to be said. In certain situations, only when it's truth. And by that, I mean somebody like Martin Luther King, where it's like there is a minority who's like, I don't agree with you. We should be able to do whatever we want. We're humans. But you're wrong. This is truth. And all humans deserve dignity. Just like if I took your dignity away and made you a slave, you would feel terrible, right? Well, yeah. Okay, so by that basic logic, by the most boiled down logic, if you wouldn't want to be a slave, then you would not. Then why would you want somebody else to experience that existence?
We're all slaves.
But when you boil, but when you boil it down, but when you boil it down like that, and you explain that you wouldn't want to be a slave, so why should that person be a slave? Then you start to get communication of you're right. If I'm not selfish and say who cares what other people think, if I'm not selfish and say who cares what other people think, and I say I'm not, I'm not selfish and I do care what other people think.
Right.
As a result, I don't want other people to be slaves. I'm gonna use my humility towards others, use empathy, and I'm gonna start to see. I want to project what I want on my life onto other people, instead of trying to project onto other people what I want my life to be.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
That's a good way to say it. Well, I think we're ending up on the 1 hour 30-minute mark. I mean,
all right. Well, yeah, we can rack it back.
Yeah,
rack them. Finishing points.
Yeah, you wanna finish? You wanna start?
You finish first. No, you start. You had something to say before while I was
All
talking.
right, we got 2 minutes left. All right, so I was gonna say, define your pure outcome, or your pure intention. Don't be attached to the outcome. Just have fun with people. Give other people value. Listen to them. Ask questions. Just relate to normal things. It's not that hard once you do it. Don't psych yourself out and feel like you're not going to be able to do it. Do it a couple times. You'll get the confidence, and you just can't be afraid to just go out and put yourself out there. That's the only way you grow. Just push that comfort zone.
100.
The comfort zone never gets, it never goes away. It just gets larger. So
You can always go back to the comfort zone, right?
yeah.
If it doesn't work, go back to the comfort zone for a little bit and try it again later.
And what do you have to say, Chuck? Or what's
For me, I think the biggest takeaway is, something that Alex said earlier was, allow yourself to be vulnerable to being genuine. I think that is such a huge aspect of finding not just friends, but the right friends, and finding the people who you truly want to surround yourself with are the people that you're going to allow to see you who you are for what you are and who you are.
Yeah.
And allowing allowing that vulnerability is, I think, something that can be extremely enlightening, impactful, and not just your social life, but also your, to be honest, your business life.
Personal
And
growth.
personal growth. I think there's not enough people who allow themselves to be vulnerable because they're too defensive. So
100%. You got anything to tie it off? We're about 1 hour and 30 minutes here.
Yeah, I think what it basically comes down to when it comes to making friends, making relationships,
Attracting people.
it's just attracting people in general. I think it's obvious. You pay attention to them. I think if your goal and intentions are, I want to get to know this girl, I want to be with this girl, you get to know her, you listen to her, you talk to her. I mean, to sit there, I think it does a huge disservice to anybody. If I didn't know you, it would be a huge disservice for me to treat you like other guys I've met and just have a conversation. And my body language says, no, you agree with what I'm saying. Because I already know you're going to agree. I'm going to say this shit and you're like, you agree, right? Now you feel pressure to agree. You feel pressure to make the same jokes.
To agree.
You feel pressure to relate. And that's the problem. Is a lot of people try to do things based off of past experiences. And then people say, well, just be yourself. And they're like, well, I don't know how to. I just go off of past experiences. And I don't feel like I have enough past experiences to be myself with a new person confidently. Okay. Well, then let's
like that.
Let's boil it down and make it basic. Get rid of all of your experiences and just talk to this person like a human and say, hey, I like this. Tell me about yourself. When you're, again, it's 70 to 93% is nonverbal cues. If my intention is I'm genuinely interested, I'm like, oh, tell me about this. And when you start talking, I don't just stare at you and zone out and start thinking about like what I'm doing after I get this next drink, or what I'm going to say next, or like with this or that. If I clear my thoughts and I'm like, my goal is just listen to you, and I'm listening, and I really genuinely care, like that. No, that's a good point. Wow, I never thought about that. But have you ever thought of this? Now I've tied our experiences together. I've created that equal flow where all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm starting to feel that comfortable, like I could say anything and I'm not going to get judged, right? I feel like I could do that. I want to get you in that zone. I want to get you in an area where you feel like you can talk to me. And as a result, I made a friend, or I got a new girlfriend, or whatever have you. It's as simple as just listening to that person and getting rid of everything you know. And the reason I say it's a disservice is because I don't know you and I've never met you. For me to treat you like every other person I've met, to me, is disrespectful. It's disgraceful. For me to say, well, I've met guys who remind me of you. What do you mean remind me? Is it my face? Is it my personality? Because you don't know my personality yet. What in your past experiences of these motherfuckers you've met are you relating to me, somebody you've never met? You don't know me. Jumping to conclusions is one of the worst things you can do to another
100.
person, period. So if I can sit there and say, I've never met this person before in my life, so let's talk to them like I've never met them before.
Yep.
Let's make it that simple. What is my goal?
Yep.
My goal is to make a friend. How am I going to talk to them? Like it's a new human, a new experience. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm genuine. Hey, I want to know about this. Tell me. It's that fucking simple. It's that simple. Be a good person. Be normal. Have real conversation. And as a result, your whole life will change. If you want to focus on you, if you want to be selfish, if you want to tell people about your life, tell people about your successes, if you just want to brag, if you want to try to put other people down to try to make yourself look better so that they respect you, keep trying that. It'll never work.
And yeah, like have fun with it. Honestly, like
Have fun with it.
being,
Genuinely
being
care.
charismatic is fun and it comes with a lot of benefits.
And making
Like,
a connection with
it's
somebody
worth
is
it.
fun.
It's worth it. It's worth more than money.
Yeah, making a connection is fun. There's nothing more fun than talking to somebody you've never talked to and talking to them like you've never talked to them. You're gonna get a brand new experience you've never had with anybody else. Everybody on this planet can give us an experience that nobody else can. So when when I walk outside as a child and I see the grass for the first time, it's beautiful. I want to roll around. I want to look for bugs. I want to have fun. When I'm 13, I don't give a shit about the grass when I'm 13 because I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
But the problem with people nowadays is because of social media, we all have this numbness of like everybody's an everybody, but I'm special. And as a result, we look at everybody's blades of grass.
Or I'm a nobody.
But we look at everybody's blades of grass and you're like, I've seen this before. I've seen this person before. I'm putting everybody into categories for my experiences and my realities. And as a result, I've seen this before. So I'm going to talk to you from an angle of how can I gauge this? Because I think I'm different. I think I'm special. And I know people better than you. So as a result, how can I communicate to this person better than another person can communicate to you? It's impossible. The only way to do it is to realize that every human is not a blade of grass. Every human is a different color of grass. It's like, oh my God, here's an entire field of red grass. It's like you've never seen this before. But it's a bad analogy, but you need to look at people as a brand new experience. And when you talk to somebody you haven't talked to before, you need to have that energy. And as a result, you're going to get exactly that back because a person's going to appreciate you treating them as somebody new, somebody special. They're going to appreciate you saying, hey, there's nobody like you. I want to hear what you have to say. They're going to appreciate them more than you being like, hey, you're like every other dude, right? You want to talk about this stuff, right? You're like, ha, 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 let's grab some beers and talk about this stuff. And then I'll probably never talk to this drunk asshole again. But that's what it is. That's what it is. If this guy comes up and he's like, I love your shoes. I love this stuff. If this guy comes up with some serious personal shit, I want to keep this guy around. Invite him to the house after we leave this bar. I want to get to know this motherfucker. He's fun. He's different. He's a unique blade of grass. He makes me see the world as if I haven't seen it before.
Come here, brother. After party.
And that's what it's about. It's about giving somebody a new experience and because as much as you love that feeling of feeling like you are being seen for the first time ever, like somebody's seeing grass for the first time. Like I've seen 1 million people, but you're different. When you get that feeling, you should equally want to give that feeling to other people. And that's why the best way to make friends is to give them the feeling of you are unique, you're special, and I want to get to know who you are. Keep it simple.
Well said.
I love it. The KISS method.
Anyway, guys, thanks for watching Meta Perspective Podcast. Join us every Monday.
Bah! Yeah, and don't forget to like, subscribe, jump in the chat.
Play that sexy intro before you stop.
Oh, don't forget to play that sexy intro, white boy.
Oh, there's 2 guys on there that I just love to death when I see that intro. Oh,
jump in the chat next time, viewers. We see you.
Meta Perspective Podcast.